Hi, everybody. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about older adults, and it's our last lecture video, so that's very exciting. Quick content warning. I will be mentioning sexual assault, white supremacy, death rates, and medical trauma during this lecture. So, um, this is what we're going over today. Take a look, take a look. We'll start off with discussing themes in the literature. As we know and have established, sexuality is an integral aspect of older adulthood, to life, but to older adulthood as well, and it contributes to overall well-being. Some changing attitudes. Newer generations of older adults are more liberal in their views on sex and sexual behavior. Many older adults reported more openness and comfort in exploring their sexuality and discussing it with others. A study that looked at older adulthood populations where sexuality was seen more as an important aspect of older adults' lives, they experienced an increase in their perceived quality of life, as well as the quality of their relationships. Some persistent barriers are that similar to what we discussed in our other lectures, um, their sexual health needs are not getting met because HPs are not initiating discussions and feeling uncomfortable or lacking knowledge regarding sexuality. So cool that we're seeing these themes across all age groups because it means if we address it in one area, hopefully it'll have a larger impact with all of our clients across the lifespan. Some research gaps. There's limited research on specific demographics, such as gay older women and older trans adults, which underscores the need for more inclusive studies. Knowledge deficits, willingness to learn. Quantitative research indicates that older adults generally have limited knowledge of STIs and safe sex practices. Rising STI rates in this population emphasizes the importance of age-specific sex education, particularly due to the fact that research has shown that older adults are willing to learn if provided with the opportunity, but they're just not being provided with the opportunity to learn safe sex practices, in large part due to bias and stigma and ageism. So, speaking of ageism, internalized ageism occurs, and these are common sexuality related barriers for older adults. Internalized ageism occurs when older individuals adopt societal biases about aging, negatively affecting self-esteem and well-being. For example, older adults may misattribute sexual challenges like erectile dysfunction to aging rather than to an underlying health condition, leading to untreated issues. Ageist stereotypes, like the belief that older adults are asexual, contribute to feelings of shame and exclusion, especially in sexual health education. Health challenges like erectile dysfunction or dementia can also impact sexuality. Dementia can impact sexuality by altering libido, sexual behavior, and communication, making it harder to express desires and understand consent. Erectile dysfunction affects older adults' self-esteem and relationships, but studies show that it actually can increase intimacy as partners develop new ways of being intimate. Health professionals can help by guiding older adults to find alternative ways to experience closeness and joy with conditions like this, focusing on connection and pleasure rather than traditional sexual expectations like penetrative sex. Autonomy can be limited by factors like moving in to an assisted living or needing more assistance slash supervision due to cognitive decline. Ageist stereotypes may hinder health professionals in addressing sexuality with judgments on behaviors like masturbation, especially in places like retirement homes. Navigating consent and privacy in these scenarios requires balanced safety with upholding the person's right to sexual expression. There are no clear answers, but health professionals can offer safe, sex positive, and anti-ageist guidance. So, older adults report that sexual health is often treated separately from standard care, with healthcare providers not addressing it in sessions, despite what the CDC recommends. They want sexuality integrated into regular care. It's important to recognize that some may choose not to engage in sex due to their sexual orientation, health status, or personal preferences, and that's perfectly fine. A reminder that sex positivity means helping clients explore intimacy in ways that feel right to them. Aging can also bring positive changes in sexuality, such as increased sexual freedom, self-acceptance, which research shows is especially true for postmenopausal women or older gay men. Aging can also prompt questioning of sexual orientation and lead to more openness. Even without health issues, aging affects how people relate to their sexuality. Health providers can help older adults navigate this time with respect and compassion. So let's create those inclusive practices and celebrate the sexuality of our older adult clients, and keep the door open for those discussions. So I'd like you to pause the video and take like 5 minutes to write down your answers to these questions on your laptop, journal, notes app, on your phone, whatever. So hit pause. The only way to identify your bias and areas for growth are to take time to reflect on questions like this. So thank you for taking the time and pondering. So we are on to our special topic section. Um, when considering US culture, because I think we all know what culture is, I'd like you to consider those in power, like government officials or school leaders, and how they can control the narrative around sexuality, determining what is taught, what rights are protected, and what health services are available, as we are all unfortunately seeing playing out in our current presidential administration in 2025. This can then set cultural norms surrounding sexuality over time. It's our job to be paying attention to this and thinking critically about it and ensure we are exposing ourselves to the perspectives of those not in power, such as refugees or houseless people, and consider what their cultural norms are, what barriers the dominant US culture is presenting, and address sexuality inclusively, addressing those barriers and help our clients overcome them. Cultural humility requires the following: understanding your own culture and how your culture affects your interactions with clients. Challenge the unlikely unconscious assumption that your values, beliefs, and attitudes are the norm, and to know your culture is just one among many. Do not view the client as different than you, but rather notice and acknowledge differences in the client therapist relationship. For example, don't categorize a celibate client as other if you are not a celibate person, but rather question how your positive experiences with being a sexually active person may cause you to have an incorrect automatic assumption about a sex-free lifestyle and what you can do to provide the client with effective therapy, that is relevant to them and their life. Cultural humility is a lifelong practice, and we may feel knowledgeable now, but over time, society will evolve and new sexual norms and terms will emerge. So it's essential to stay committed to growth, remain open to discomfort, and provide our clients with the quality care they deserve. So, US culture. Let's explore how US culture influences sexuality, and we'll discuss general themes, but won't go into specific subcultures. Symbols like wedding rings, eggplant emoji, Playboy bunny ears represent different aspects of sexuality. These symbols evolve over time, and older adults may feel disconnected from modern sexual symbols. What was once considered risque, like showing a woman's thigh, has shifted in today's culture with things like leaked celebrity nudes and easy access to pornography. Body language, now onto language. Body language is another key cultural aspect of sexuality. Behaviors like eye contact or getting physically close can indicate flirtation, while pulling away, holding up a hand may signal disinterest. However, for neurodivergent people, eye contact or closeness may be uncomfortable at baseline. So some of these uh, cultural norms do not apply to all individuals. So it's good for us to be aware of that and not make assumptions. Language also evolves over time and can leave some, especially older adults, feeling disconnected from modern sexuality. Identities that have always existed now have names, and non-traditional relationship models that also have existed for a long time are being discussed more openly. Language also plays a crucial role in LGBT plus rights, such as pronouns, attempts to define gender, as well as legal names. And so, while though it may be a learning curve for older adults, language is empowering. We can remind them that it helps people express their desires, reclaim their identities, and connect with others. One of the big ways cultural values and beliefs impact sexuality is how virginity or sex appeal is valued and what beliefs we have about virginity versus sex appeal. We see the conversation between the innocent, virgin, pure person and the super sexy person play out in so many cultural stages in the US. We project these ideas onto people, whether it be movie characters we idealize, thinking of like Disney princesses versus Jessica Rabbit, in music, thinking of like Taylor Swift versus Megan Thee Stallion, um, or news when they discuss what a sexual assault victim was wearing. This dichotomy is rife with racist, sexist stereotypes and also limits people's sexual expression because they feel fearful of being categorized in this way. Um, Roles and rituals, norms and stereotypes. Norms and rituals are another big piece of culture that affects sexuality. We see rituals in many aspects of sexuality. Like, what are your current rituals surrounding gender expression? How does your client get ready for a date? What are your client's meaningful steps involved in their self-pleasure routine? Rituals can be an important part of some kinks. For example, in BDSM community, what is the ritual of getting into a submissive role? What are the steps involved in creating a role play dynamic? What are your clients' rituals in staying connected with their kinky community? These are all aspects to consider. Um, Sorry, one second. Um, Norms are a very messy part of culture as they often are used as invisible rules that, if broken, give people a social license to oppress, ignore, silence, or discriminate against others. On the other hand, norms can be useful in learning what behavior is or isn't appropriate, how to build relationships, community, or what social steps you need to complete or accomplish your goals. So, as health professionals, our role is to notice the norms within the systems we work within and within the care we provide so we can critically analyze that and analyze which norms are supporting our client and which need to go in the trash for the benefit of our client's health and well-being. So, some examples, dating norms, along with a majority of other cultural norms, are neurotypical. When working with our clients, you can help clients identify which cultural norms are congruent for them and which are not. If this isn't within your scope of practice, you can be an advocate for breaking some of these cultural norms when you see them come up so people can be free to live their truest selves. A caveat to this is having cultural humility. Some cultures value following certain relationship norms over personal preference and autonomy. So while you want to fight norms that are negatively impacting clients, you must also hold space and respect for norms that are an important part of your client's cultural identity. So, with gender roles and stereotypes, I've separated them into categories that the dominant culture has created, differentiating between masculine and feminine identities. But a reminder that having a vagina or a penis um, is not a determining factor on whether a person will be masculine or feminine. Additionally, like gender is a construct. Additionally, this isn't an outline of what all people with feminine characteristics feel or experience. It's simply highlighting themes that affect sexuality, that I think are helpful to be aware of. So, femme is often associated with behaviors like being accommodating, nurturing, quiet, agreeable. Femmes in some cultures assume a person will be in a passive and subordinate role and feel that leaving um, that like they are obligated to meet the sexual needs of their partner and sexually satisfy them. This is really seen in the orgasm gap and ways that gender roles and stereotypes can permeate into our relationships and behaviors. As said, gender norms are based off of heterosexual monogamous people and within heterosexual monogamous couples because of gender norms and stereotypes and subsequent sexism, heterosexual male orgasms are often at the top of the orgasm hierarchy, and since heterosexual males are often orgasm from penetrative sex, that type of sex is also put at the top of the sexual intimacy hierarchy. Other sexual acts like clitoral stimulation are seen as lesser than. For example, providing oral sex is seen as foreplay, insinuating that it just is a precursor to the main event. But clitoral stimulation is not a precursor. It is the primary means for a person with a vagina to have an orgasm. The focus and prioritization of penis and vagina penetrative sex is rooted in sexism and is heteronormative. So I will get off that soapbox, but I wanted to highlight this because when we work with our clients, if it's within our scope, try not to frame penetrative sex as the ultimate goal unless your client has identified that as a priority. Focus conversations and interventions around receiving pleasure, satisfaction, and connection between partners over a specific sexual act like penetrative sex. Additionally, cultural factors such as the feminine impact, people's perceived responsibility to maintain sexual attractiveness. And if we can relate this back to older adults, this can be particularly challenging as signs of aging are deemed as less attractive within the dominant culture. So we gotta fight that, baby. Um, Masculinity is often linked to traits like confidence, strength, dominance, which can limit self-expression and create performance anxiety around sexual expectations. Stereotypes about sexual performance, such as maintaining an erection or pleasing a partner, can cause stress and shame. Masculine norms also discourage emotional vulnerability, impacting communication about sexual needs. These pressures contribute to unhealthy behaviors like emotional repression or abuse. As health professionals, we can create spaces for for masculine presenting people to express emotions and discuss sexuality openly. Um, So, gender stereotypes often reinforce a binary understanding of gender, which can be restrictive for LGBT individuals who don't conform to traditional gender norms. Non-binary, genderqueer, gender non-conforming people may face challenges in expressing their sexuality outside of the confines of the binary expectations, or may contend with double standards related to both their sexual orientation and traditional expectations of their gender expression. Also, many LGBT people face harmful stereotypes about their sexuality from society, perpetuated by people who lack education on and exposure to queer people and experiences. For example, a stereotype might be that gay men or non-monogamous people are more at risk for STIs or sexually promiscuous, or that like all trans people are straight. So catching these if you notice them within yourself, catching them if you see others do them, if you see their clients, if your clients do them, and correcting these harmful stereotypes and assumptions. Some racial and religious stereotypes that I want to talk about. Hypersexualization of people of color, particularly women of color, often portray them as sexually promiscuous, hyperfeminine, compared to other groups. Some men of color are stereotyped as hypermasculine and sexually dominant. Um, Also, the opposite of that, desexualization. Some racial or ethnic groups are desexualized by the dominant US culture. Men may be portrayed as less masculine and women as too masculine, and therefore deemed as less desirable. Some social groups, particularly among women, are stereotyped to be more sexually reserved, and a religious assumption might be that, like, a Muslim woman may face assumptions about their lacked agency, supposed lacked agency or freedom in sexual matters, or in their sexuality. So no, again, noticing these themes, challenging them. On to systemic oppression. So, um, something ingrained in US culture is colonialism and white supremacy. And both of these factors are contributors to systemic oppression. The Learn and Unlearn Anti-Racism Resource Guide by the School of the Art Institute of Chicago is a resource I highly recommend. It's in the last page of the slides. It explores the terms colonialism, decolonization, white supremacy. So if you're unfamiliar, go and check out their website. They give definitions, examples, videos, book recommendations, all that stuff. So even if you're familiar, if you want to deepen your understanding, you can find a bunch of cool resources there. And I'm just like kind of flying through these, pause when you want, as always. The following are people in marginalized groups due to systemic oppression in the US, both historically and in the present. So when looking at this list, I want you to consider how might systemic oppression of these social groups affect their sexuality. I'll answer that question on the next slide, but if you want to ponder it yourself first, you can pause here, and have a little brain workout. You can also have a brain workout here. Um, oops. Sorry. I want you to take a moment to consider these real world examples of systemic oppression related to sexuality for each of the scenarios listed on the left-hand side here. These were all from the Learn and Unlearn, and then I kind of translated them into real world scenarios. So pause if you want. We'll take a look. For the purpose of brevity, I'm not going to read through these, but please pause, ponder, and I'm here to discuss any of these at length further. If you want to chat, I am here. Um, so, same goes for this slide. These are some historical and current facts that demonstrate the effects of systemic oppression as it relates to sexuality. This is influenced by racism, sexism, colonialism, and white supremacy. This is the last info slide. The last aspect of sexuality I want to draw your attention to is maternal death rates in our country. 80% of pregnancy related death rates are preventable. Um, and according to the CDC, Black women are 2.6 times more likely to die during childbirth than white women due to variation in quality healthcare, underlying chronic conditions, structural racism, and implicit bias. These are one of the many horrifying examples of the consequences that Americans face due to unchecked systemic oppression, bias, racism, and sexism. As health professionals, we can fight for equitable access to healthcare services so our clients can get their sexuality related needs met regardless of their race, sexual orientation, age, culture, or socioeconomic status. So, here are our recommended sites and videos. I recommend all of these if you want to deepen your knowledge, return to them this week, whatever you want. Thank you so much for being a part of this movement in healthcare. Some of the things we teach you in this class are very simple and easy techniques that will make a huge difference for your clients. Others require you to dig deeper and further your knowledge and maybe face some uncomfortable feelings. So I appreciate you doing your best in the class, and I hope we've created a safe place for you to learn. And yeah, just thank you so much for being here. Here are my references, and goodbye.